books of the Bible are Old Testament. That's only the Old Testament, right?
Do the New Testament.
We gotta get to the New Testament. So we started talking about Genesis. And then we talked about Exodus. And then we talked about Leviticus. And then we talked about, what's the book of the Bible we talked about last week?
I wasn't here the letter yet.
I know.
Numbers.
Numbers.
Why would you say something?
We talked about numbers. And there was only a few you down here last week. Elijah, Ashley, and Amanda Samantha, Ashley, and Amanda were the only ones that were here last week. So what, you guys remember what happened in the book of Numbers? What did we talk about last week? You guys remember? And you guys remember? Elijah?
You counted to 100.
Samantha? Yeah, sorry. Samantha?
You counted to 100.
Counted to 100, okay. Sorry. Ashley? Spies! Yeah, Moses spent, how many spies were there? Do you remember?
12
spies. And what I did is I had them show their best spy move last week, and they were acting as spies. And so Moses said the spies, what was their job? What were they trying to look into? What were they spying? What were they doing? They were spying on the city promised land. And what was the problem? How come? What did the spies say? They said something. Angel? Well, they said something bad. Elijah, what did the spies say when they came back to Moses? Do you remember? They told them about a problem that they had. There was big, that's right, there's big giants. There's big giants. And so they didn't go in, they got all scared of these giants, and then what happened next? What did they do? What ended up happening?
Did they run away?
They didn't run away. Sarah, where did the Israelites end up after that? No, this is after. I had on them 40 years in the desert, right? We're talking about how the desert was hot, and they were sweaty, and they had no water, they had no food. And so we talked about how they spent a lot of time complaining. They spent a lot of time complaining. So would I. We talked about that. I don't blame them. 40 years in the desert is a long time. So that was all numbers. So careful there, Ashley.
Okay. Ashley?
So they spent a whole bunch of time wandering the desert, which brings us to our next book, Deuteronomy. Or as Duke and I call it, Deuteronomy. But that's not how it's called. It's called Deuteronomy, not Deuteronomy technically. But I have a little song about Deuteronomy, and then I'm going to show some facts about it.
So what happens when their timeout is finished?
Moses gives a big, giant speech.
Oh, how exciting.
It's an important speech. So important that it's the next whole book of the Bible, Deuteronomy.
What?
Time for a song!
Mom, excuse me?
I'm talking. Say something.
Come on, what?
Deuteronomy, what do you think? Go!
All right, here's a song about Duber-Uberly.
Deuteronomy!
Duber-Abedi.
Just sing the song!
And now, the fabulous Bentley Brothers.
Oh no, not them again. No! Oh no.
I suppose you know of Moses. I always picture him with a beard. I picture him with a mustache, though I know that's a little weird. There was a time when he gathered all the Israelites around. He told them some things and said, I should probably write this down. That's now the book of Deuteronomy. 40 days worth of sermons in 1410 BC. Moses reminded everybody who's been wandering around in the wilderness. God gives you his best, give him your best, and you will be blessed.
All right, so that is popsicle stick. So, when we're talking about Deuteronomy or Deuteronomy. So, alright, first fact about Deuteronomy. Who do you think wrote it? Elijah? Moses. Now, this is the last book that Moses wrote in the Bible. This is it. So next week we can talk about different books that Moses didn't write it. So this is the last book that Moses wrote in it. Does anybody know what is in this book? What's in Deuteronomy? Elijah? Moses' speech. Someone told us that, right? Moses' speech that he gave the Israelites. And then at the end, Moses gives this big speech. I'm going to tell you how long it was in a minute. Moses gives this big speech, and at the end of Deuteronomy, he dies. So,
6 days.
yeah.
40 years?
Yeah, this is his big goodbye type speech. This was a, hey,
What is it? 3 years?
no, it wasn't 3 years.
30?
No, it wasn't 30. I'll tell you here in a
3
minute.
days?
So like we said, this was his last book. So this is the last book of a section that's called the law. Remember we talked about that in Genesis all the way at the beginning? We talked about how the first 5 books were called the law, technically. So this is the last book in the law. Now, are you guys ready for this? I'm going to tell you how long Moses talked to the people. I'll let you guys guess. How long do you think Moses talked to the people in this big speech that he gave? Sarah? However long it takes to grow a pumpkin, okay? Athena? 50 years. Angel? They were in the desert for 40 years. They're about to come out of the desert. He was giving his goodbye speech. How long do you think he talked to the people? 30 years? Bryson? 100 years? Darren, how long do you think Moses talked to the people? 10 years, 10 days, 10 minutes, 10 hours? How long do you think he talked? 10 hours? Lonnie? 6 hours? 6 hours? Duke? 25 days. Okay. Elijah? 40 years. Ashley?
Emily.
2 months. Now Moses did talk to all the people during that time, during those whole 40 years. But this specific time, as they were already exiting the desert and going to the promised land, Moses talked with people for about 2.5 hours. Yeah, 6 hours. So Lonnie said 6 hours. She was close.
I was close, but I was 0.
And you guys think I talk long. If I was here, if I started talking to you guys for 2.5 hours, you guys probably fall asleep. Right? Yeah.
Talk for 2 hours, I'd be out.
So even though it took 2.5 hours for Moses to give it, it took about 1 hour and 15 minutes to read all the way through it. So it kind of, it's a little bit boring. We're going to talk about what he says in a minute. But, so here are the people you may know in Deuteronomy that it mentions. Moses, obviously. Moses is the one who talks the most. And then he turned, Sarah, Amanda? The Israelites, yeah. Alright. And then who came after Moses? Moses gives us goodbye speech for 2.5 hours. Alright. He gives us goodbye speech for 2.5 hours. And at the very end, before the Bible talks about how he died, Moses tells the Israelites there's going to be another guy coming. I'm turning it over. He's going to be your new leader. Elijah, who was it?
Peanut butter jelly.
No, it was not it wasn't peanut butter and jelly, man. No, it wasn't.
Peanut butter jelly time.
Huh? Not Joseph. Angel is right. It is Joshua. I don't know why she said it like that, but it is Joshua. So, yeah. So, alright. So the whole book of Deuteronomy is Moses telling the people, hey guys, it's review time. All right, guys, shh, quiet. Moses got together with all the Israelites and he said, guys, it's review time. I want to review some things. So he talks about how God brought them out of Egypt and out of slavery. He said, you guys remember that? And they said, yeah, we remember that, yeah. And then he talked about how God took care of them as they walked around in the desert for 40 years. So it was a big, he reminded them of all the rules that God gave them in Leviticus. And so all that took 2.5 hours, like I said. How many of you guys, when you guys are in school, how many of you review for a test? When you guys have a test coming up? Do you guys like the review days? Or Okay. So Moses, he gave the Israelites a big, he pretty much gave them a big review day. He gave them a big review day, and he told them everything that happened, and he reminded them all the rules that God gave them. And he also gave out some new advice to them. He also gave out some new advice to them at the same time. In Deuteronomy 6:5, our memory verse says, love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength. Have you guys heard this verse before?
I have.
You guys have heard this verse before? I'm going to read it to you again.
Can I read it?
Go ahead.
Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your strength.
Yeah, Deuteronomy 6.
Deuteronomy 6.
Yeah, Deuteronomy 6:5. So this, as Moses was giving the rules, he gave this. Now, what does this mean? Who knows what this means? Anybody know what this means?
I know.
Anybody know what this means? Angel?
It means like you should love God with all your heart and love Him because you should love the Lord and Jesus dead and risen.
Okay. Athena, what does this verse mean? It's love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your strength. What's that? Love the Lord with everything.
Be grateful that you have the Lord.
Be grateful that you have the Lord. Elijah?
You gotta love Him real good.
Love him real good. Huh? Love him really good.
Sit in that chair now.
Derek, sit up on the chair for me, buddy. Derek, don't be playing on the pole because adults can hear that. They can come down like, who's swinging on the pole? You know better than that, buddy.
Yeah, like the pole. Like if you rub on the pole.
So yeah, Moses, he reminded them of all the rules that God gave, and then he gave them this rule that would become the greatest rule. It would become the greatest command, the most important rule that the people need to know. Just like it's the greatest commandment for us. So we're going to get to that here in a minute. Anybody else with love? Anybody else who want to take a stab at what this means to them? There's really no wrong answer, no right or wrong answer. You guys-
Who is that?
Oh, hey! How are you? What are you doing? What's going on? This is Felicia. All right. All right, this is Felicia. All right. Shh, let me see what's going on with Felicia. No, hold on. I gotta figure out what's going on with Felicia. Felicia, what's going on? How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm on my way to Bob's house to do homework.
Oh, you got some homework to do today? That's right. Because you got today. You had your first day of school. How was that?
Oh, it was okay, I guess.
Well, did you learn anything?
She sounds like
I'm talking to Felicia. Hang on a second, guys. I gotta find out how Felicia's first day of school.
He
went.
needs a moment with Felicia.
I need a moment with Felicia. Felicia, did you learn anything in your first day of school?
Well, I learned a new knock-knock joke. Do you want to hear it?
You guys want to hear Felicia's new knock knock joke?
Yes!
All right, Felicia, tell us your new knock knock joke.
Knock-knock.
Who's there?
Canoe.
Canoe who?
Canoe, help me with my homework.
Oh my goodness. Canoe.
That was a bad joke.
Oh, well, okay.
That was.
How's it going, Felicia? All right, hang on.
Can I tell her a joke?
Hold on, maybe in a minute. So, how do you like your new teacher, Felicia?
Well, she's okay, but I have one question. aren't you a teacher?
I guess you could say that, you know, children's pastor, I teach. Yeah, I'm a pastor teacher. Yeah.
Okay, well, aren't teachers supposed to know everything?
Well, some of you guys said,
Face
I don't
knows.
know. Well, you know,
Hey! No one knows everything.
Yeah, that's Justin.
I'm trying to talk to Felicia.
No.
Well, Felicia, teachers do know a lot. You know, they have to go, some teachers go to school for a very long time. Why do you ask?
Well, I was just asking because today, one of my teachers kept telling us, like, asking us for the answers. Isn't she supposed to know?
Oh, so you're saying that your teacher was asking you for big answers and stuff? I understand. Well, Felicia, that's because she wants you to know how smart you are. She was kind of seeing how smart her class was, because you're pretty smart.
For the most part.
For the most part. I've known you for a while. You're pretty smart. So she was trying to see how smart you guys were. So tell us, what else happened on your first day of school, Felicia?
Rules, and more rules. I didn't know there were so many.
Yeah, well, you know, you guys know too. Aren't there? You guys have rules at your school?
No.
Yeah, all right.
So many rules because it'll be like this and it's not.
Yeah, and you know what, Felicia? Rules are everywhere you go. I mean, rules are here for a reason.
Well, we have 6 in our classroom. How many am I supposed to? How am I even supposed to know them all?
6 rules? Okay.
She should make a chart.
That's a good idea.
A chart? Yeah, a chart. I'm sure your teacher will remind you. Remember if it's a chart. What about you? Do you guys have any more ideas of what Felicia's teacher could do? Make a chart?
She
What
can
else?
take a poster and write them on there.
Take a poster? Yeah. So, you know, Felicia, I'm sure your teacher will remind you often about the rules, okay? You know, I was just telling these guys, the people in the Bible, they had more than 6 rules to remember. You want to know how many rules they had to remember?
7.
No, it was more than 7.
12.
It was around 600 rules.
600.
600.
How in the world you remember them all?
All right.
Not spider by your hand.
She's fine. It's fake. It's a fake spider. Well, you know, Felicia, the 600 rules, it wasn't easy. But all rules are important to follow, and they were made for a reason. But, you know, boys and girls, this is important for you guys to know, too. One time, somebody came up to Jesus and said, Jesus, out of all the commandments, out of all the rules that there ever was, this guy asked Jesus, which one is the greatest? And you know what he said, Felicia?
What is that?
You guys know what Jesus said?
Don't lie.
Do you think he said don't lie?
Don't lie.
Don't lie? Well,
Don't
Jesus,
cry like a baby.
he actually told him that this. No, he actually said that this verse right here was the greatest commandment. He said, I know you didn't. Sorry. Hey guys in the back, shh. That's what Jesus said was the greatest rule. Boys and girls, Felicia, Jesus said that the greatest commandment was to love God with all your hearts.
Well, that one's easy to remember because I do love God.
That's good. That's good. Well, hey, and do you guys know what Jesus said the second greatest commandment was?
Darren.
You need to go sit down, little boy.
Little girl.
Hey, sit down. Felicia, she'll get you.
Little girl.
Felicia will get you.
You don't want to see me when I'm angry.
In the face.
All right, no. So, all right. So Jesus said this was the greatest commandment. Sarah, what was the second greatest commandment Jesus gave? You remember? No, it wasn't don't lie. Athena, you remember? If this was, Jesus said this was the first greatest commandment, what did he say was the second greatest commandment?
I know it. I know. Don't
Angel?
I forgot it.
It was that he went on to say, but the second greatest commandment is just as important. That is to love your neighbor.
Who's my neighbor?
Well, your neighbor can be anybody. It can be your friend at school,
Oh, the person that lives next to you.
the person who lives next to you.
Or two persons that live next to you.
Yeah, but people who live next to you, anyone else around you, Jesus knew if we could keep those 2 commandments, we would not have any trouble keeping the others. So now, Felicia, I have a knock-knock joke for you here.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
I love.
I love who?
You.
Wow. Felicia, you got some fans out here. But why don't you tell me, who do you love? Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Orange.
Orange who?
Orange, I love you.
Orange, you glad. You know, I have
Orange
600
face.
rules to remember. I know, it wasn't as good as you.
I
You're
got
better.
another.
Okay, wait, I got another.
Okay, go ahead,
Knock,
Felicia.
knock.
Who's there?
Wouldn't you?
Wouldn't you?
Wouldn't
Your
you?
face. Wouldn't you?
Wouldn't you like to hear another knock knock joke?
Alright, we got it. Alright, we guys, we'll have to tell Felicia knock knock jokes later, but we have other things we need to get to. So, Felicia, it's good to see you, but we have to say bye to you for right now. We're going to say Felicia, bye. Alright, so yeah, like Felicia, yeah. Bye, Felicia. So, alright. So like I was telling Felicia, Jesus said this is the greatest commandment ever. And I'll show it to you in the Bible right here. It's in Mark 12. This is after the Pharisees asked Jesus, what is the greatest commandment? Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, and with all your strength. Mark 12, not 30. So, you guys are right. He was talking about to love God with everything that you have. To love God with everything. But how can we show, if you love somebody, if you love God, what are you going to do? How do you show people that you love them, Duke? Price is like, I'll praise them. Hugs, okay. Angel?
Acting how God would want you, like kind, don't respectful.
Okay.
Don't do the don't do the
Don't do
opposite.
the
Or
I know what you mean. I know what you mean.
yeah. Don't do the
Sarah?
opposite of things that make my neighbor.
I'm sorry, Amanda.
I said don't do Amanda.
Amanda, that's how you show people you love. You spit on them? That's gross. That's nasty. Duke? Smooches, okay. Bryson? Alright. Bryson? Okay. So how can we show God that we love Him? How can we show God that we love Him? Angel? Okay, so by praying and trusting and telling Him. Samantha? A sweatshirt that says, I love God. Duke? Sweatshirt and sweatpants that say, I love God on it. Okay. Yes, Samantha again.
And gloves.
And gloves, okay?
And
Duke,
sweat gloves.
you really got a whole outfit.
And a blanket.
Angel? By doing the whole Ten Commandments. Well, Jesus, well, Moses, alright, Moses was telling the people,
Hey.
guys,
What?
Moses was telling the people that if you, to show God that you love Him, you need to obey. I'm just kidding, that's not how you say it. Obey. Throughout the whole book of Deuteronomy, as he's telling these people, as he's saying goodbye to all these people, to the Israelites, he tells them to, the way that you can show God you love Him is by obeying. And he tells them about the blessings of obedience. Do you think it's a good idea to obey, or to, what do you guys think? Do you think it's a good idea to obey, Angel?
I think it's a good idea to obey rules because if you obey rules,
Okay.
it's a good idea to obey.
Do you think it's a good idea to obey? Darren,
We
why?
should do raise your hand if you
Why?
think it's a good idea to obey. Because Jesus got rules and Jesus doesn't want no one to break them.
Yeah, in fact, Darren, like you were
We
saying,
should do raise your hand if you.
okay, fine.
That's a good idea.
Jesus said himself in John 14, not 15, if you love me, obey my commandments. John 14, not 15. So Jesus was saying, if you love me, do what I tell you to do.
Obey the rules.
Obey.
Obey what I tell you to do.
Obey what I tell you to do. Exactly. But that's not always, that's, all right, but, yes. Yes, but that's not always easy, is it?
Nope.
Because the people in Leviticus, they had a lot of rules to do, but it really didn't make any sense. So, what should we do with those rules? sense.
Like some people might think that
Just because.
some people might think obeying the rules
Athena?
is just a stupid thing.
Actually, you're gonna have to get off Athena for a minute. I need her.
I want to do Athena Latino. Athena Latino. That's just like that stupid all.
Alright, so I got a little skit that we were gonna try to do every week, but we got it to work now.
Do we have more puppets? We got more. Guys, he leaves for a second. You guys should start talking. Be quiet. No! Why should we? Why is this God said?
Alright, pay attention.
You need to obey the rules. What the? God said right now. That's great.
Empty contents of package into bowl. Add 1/2 cup of water, 2 eggs, and beat until creamy. Pour into 2 9-inch greased baking pans and bake for 25 minutes at 350 degrees.
Alright.
Is that all?
Hi, Amanda. What are you doing?
Hi, Rocco. I'm making this chocolate cake. But so far, the recipe doesn't sound very good.
What's wrong with it?
It says here to add eggs and water, and that's all. What's this supposed to be? Prison cake?
You mean like bread and water?
Yeah, I know. I'm going to create my own cake and put in all the ingredients I love. It'll be the best cake in the world.
Amanda, don't you think you'd be better off to follow the instructions? I mean, I don't know much about cooking, but the people who wrote the directions probably knew what they was talking about.
You really don't know very much about cooking if you think some brown powder, some eggs, and some water will make a good cake. No, I'm going to be creative. Today you will have a new taste sensation in cakes. Just watch me.
Okay.
Now let's see. I really love Hershey bars. I think a chocolate cake with Hershey bars would be delicious.
It should be good and chocolatey that way.
Yes, and since I
See what else she puts
also
in there.
love bubblegum, I'm going to put some of that in there.
Baking soda so it rises.
Don't let creativities be stifled by conventional ideas. If you can buy bubblegum ice cream, why not bubblegum cake?
But chocolate and bubblegum?
Stick around with me, kids. Now, I love oranges, and you can't say chocolate isn't good with oranges because I know it is. So,
Aren't you gonna peel it?
no! The recipe's called for orange peel. It adds to the flavor.
Oh,
An orange
What
peel.
else shall I put in?
An orange
A
peel.
package of lime jello.
lime jello?
Yellow.
Why not?
I don't know. Orange peel. Oh, and banana jello. What about banana pudding?
Yum. This cake is going to be good.
Shouldn't you at least open the box and pour it out?
That's okay. This saves time. And all that will work out when the cake's baked.
It will?
Sure it will. The extremely hot oven will burn away all the paper and cardboard and give the cake a nice barbecue flavor.
Barbecued chocolate?
Yes, and speaking of barbecue,
I'm just scared.
barbecued hot
I
dogs.
swear to God, you can't
Gotta
eat a
put
cake.
one in.
Well, barbecue. No,
And
I'm
let's
not.
have a hot dog without
Why don't you just buy a cake? Why don't you buy a cake instead?
We'll have some questions about it here in a minute.
You just can't mix chocolate cake with hot dogs and ketchup and mustard and pickles and onions.
That's all you know.
And
Have you ever had barbecue hot dogs and chocolate cake for dessert?
Yes, but never hot dogs and cake at the same time.
bacon.
Leave the pumpkins alone, guys.
They all get mixed up
No, it won't.
Do you guys think Amanda's cake will taste good? Alright, quiet.
What should I do?
I think you should start over with a
Alright,
new
quiet. Guys, sit up in your chairs.
Cake wouldn't taste very good.
Lots of times we're told to do something that doesn't seem to make sense, or what we don't want to do. But if the person who gave us the instructions is wise, like our mothers and fathers, our teachers, and God, then we should listen and obey.
Even if it doesn't make any sense at all?
It may not seem to make sense to us, but that's because we don't know everything. We can only understand as much as we know. That's when we have to trust the person who loves us and tells us what to do.
I think I understand. Like the time Mom told me not to play outside without a sweater because I'd catch cold. I didn't believe her, so I went out without my sweater. Know what happened?
What?
I caught cold.
That's it exactly.
Darren.
If we follow directions, things will work out much better for us.
I hate to admit it, but I think you could be right.
You know what, Amanda?
What?
You really got me in the mood for chocolate cake. Do you think we could find another mix and make it right this time?
Let's show look.
Alright, friends, Amanda and Rocco. Amanda and Rocco. Those are our puppet friends. Alright, so what was Amanda trying to make? Samantha, what was Amanda trying to make? A cake. What kind of chocolate cake? Angel? Okay, so Samantha, what happened? Why was she adding Darren? Why was she adding all this stuff into the cake?
Because she got the ingredients basically do.
She tasted like the
She thought
okay. Do? She only had to say that she liked.
She said that she thinks it's gonna be.
She thought it was gonna be plain. D.
She thought it was gonna be good, but it was gonna taste bad.
It was gonna taste good, but it was gonna taste bad. She didn't like.
She thought it was gonna taste bad,
Yeah. She didn't trust the directions, did she?
No.
She didn't think the directions were gonna make a good cake, right? And so, but what did the guy say? What did Rocco tell her? Rocco was telling her a bunch of good stuff. Good boy. What was he telling her, Angel?
I don't know.
He was saying, I don't know about this. And then, what was the thing about, how did she get sick? How did she catch a cold? Let's talk about that for a minute. How did she catch a cold?
Because she went out of the house without a sweater.
Because she went out of the house with a sweater, and who told her to make sure she had a sweater on?
Their mom.
Their mom, and she didn't do it, right? So she got sick.
And she got sick because it was so cold.
And so, because she didn't listen,
The wind.
even though the directions didn't make any sense with the cake, even if she may have thought that her mom was just crazy for telling her to go outside without a coat, the mom and the people who made the instructions, put the chair back up, they knew what they were talking about, right? So Moses, alright guys, Moses was telling the Israelites, hey, I know some of these rules don't make any sense. Some of these rules don't make any sense, but if you obey them, if you obey what God tells us to do, good things will happen. It's always better to follow what God says, right? So the same thing is true for us. The things that God asks us to do or tells us to do, it's better, Jared, leave the bubble machine alone. It's better to obey. Because disobeying, especially disobeying God, isn't a good idea, is it?
No, because then it'll always come back to you.
It'll always come back to you, kind of like Jonah. But we're going to talk about him later.
Or if you do something really bad and you don't follow the rules at all, it could go bad.
Yeah. So it's always better.
If you do
Yeah, if we take some of these toys.
Bring them home. That would be
Yeah, it would be good, wouldn't it?
down there.
You would be down there. You're right, Bryson.
If there's someone up there, you will go down there forever.
Yeah. So if we love God, how many of us love God? We all love God. We all love Jesus, right?
Someone else,
If
then you would go. Yeah.
we all love God, so if we love God, we should be wanting to do what He says. Now, some of it's not going to be easy, because Jesus talked about. He told us about how to love other people when they're mad, when we're mad at them. That's not always easy, is it? Well, He talks to us about all these different things that when you read them in the Bible, you're like, oh, that's kind of hard.
That's kind of hard.
That's kind of hard. I don't really want to follow that. But the good news is, even guys, the good news is.
Directions because if you don't want to follow
You guys are so shaggy.
I think he told her to stop. Like she just keeps going. Shh, she inspiring me.
Okay, everybody needs to shh. Duke,
She's not ready to play with you.
thanks, buddy. You can put your hands on. I saw it. So, the good news is that God is there to help us obey. Sit down there. You're going to fall and hurt yourself.
On the wood.
God will help us obey the commandments. We'll obey the things I've asked Emily, Sarah. God will help us obey and follow the things that are a little hard to do. Well, I have one more song. Our public friends want to sing one more song. So here we go.
Go!
right, thank you, public friends. I know it wasn't Felicia. I know you. Yeah.
He's smart.
See what?
He's smart.
Knock knock joke.
He's smart. Where's smart
All right,
from?
what's your knock knock joke really quick?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Boo.
Boo.
Boo boo. It's a joke. Why are you crying?
Ah, I see.
Boo boo. Can I do the knock knock? I got one. I got one. No, I got
What's
one.
your knock knock joke really quick?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Your face.
My face who?
Your face is dumb.
Wow, that's not even a. That's mean.
That was I got one joke. That was not okay.
What's your knock knock joke? Pete?
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Your face.
What? Is this the same one that Bryson did? Ah.
Your face and a butt tap.
Oh. Well, the puppet friends, they were singing over and over again our memory verse. That is to love God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind. So we talked about how it means to love God with everything. And to show God that we love Him, we can obey what He says to do. How many of you think that's a good idea? Yeah, well, Moses sure did. And Jesus said it too. He said,
They gotta obey because God doesn't want everyone to break the rule, and some people break the rules, so well, that's when they don't know.
yeah. So,
Hey, then we get to nickel.
we're going to pray, and then we're going to see how many of you guys can say a memory verse. Let's see who's paying attention to a memory verse. We're going to see who can say a memory verse here pretty quick. So,
Just said it.
what?
Get middle.
No, not memory verse, but the actual verse. Deuteronomy 6:5. All right, hey, Darren and Bryson, get up in your chairs. We're going to pray. So, we got. All right, you can pray first, and I'll pray after you. All right, what do we do when we pray? All right, boys, go ahead. Amen. God, we thank you for bringing us all here today. We thank you for the lesson in Deuteronomy, which is just to love you with everything that we got. I know these boys and girls, they love you with everything that they've got, with all their heart, with all their soul, with all their mind. So God, help us to obey what the Bible says. Because what we just got done talking about, a way that we can show that we love you is to obey. So even those things that may be a little bit hard to follow, a little bit hard to do, God, I thank you for your help. And I say to help us in those times. And I pray with the boys and girls that remember what we talked about today, as they keep on growing up and getting older, that they will continue to love you with everything that they have. And they'll continue to obey you at all times. In Jesus' name. Everybody said? Amen. All right.
That was very confusing.
Go